Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a castle kind of similar to this one in the background, and just, key concepts for building big things like this. So let's hop into third person and get started. Alright guys, and this is the mountain we have to work with. I'll be sure to leave the seed down below. Just know that it is amplified, this world is. So yeah, it just makes the mountains look a lot more epic. And we're going to get started with this castle build. So the first thing you need to do, before you even start building the castle, is have an idea in your head. Do you want a castle just to have a cool castle? Or does this castle have a purpose, a story? What is it doing here? Why is it here? What can really drive a story of a castle, or any build really, is the terrain around it. And so for this, I decided that because we have this big snowy mountain, I figured they didn't go around it, they needed to go through it, so this castle was made to be like a snowy pass, like a place where travelers could get through there. Now I'll be the first to say that this castle is made for looks. It's not really made to be defensible or kind of have this overarching story with different warring nations and stuff and such like that. No, this is just to look pretty. And I'll give you guys some tips to how you can make a castle look pretty. Now, the single best tip I can give to you for building a castle is to connect the buildings. In some way, shape, or form, everything connects to each other, whether it be through a walkway, through like a guard thing, or where you have battlements, which are the kind of castle-y looking, I don't even know, walls, whatever those are. You can also connect through a tower. You can also just have the buildings touch each other. There's really limitless possibilities to how you can connect things, but don't just make a bunch of random boxes everywhere and put paths to them. That's not going to make a really cool castle. Alright, so now let's say you kind of understand how to build a castle, but you just don't have any more ideas, or you don't know what you want to do for your castle. Well, my friends, that is where concept art comes in, because concept art is really awesome. You get to see what other artists have created, and you can take little ideas from their pieces to help work with your castle. And in case you're in need of finding some of that, I have a Pinterest page, and you can go ahead and look at all the pins I have saved of different castles. I save a lot. And now you have this great big idea, you've looked at some inspiration, and you kind of know what you're going to do, but the hardest part is actually starting. Yes, I know, actually starting is the hardest thing, because it's like looking at a blank piece of paper. But you just gotta start placing shapes. A castle, you can do a lot of just plain boxes. Boxes is a great way to start. And once you place one down, you get two, and you get three, and then they start adding up, and you add little roofs. You start to see a castle. And that's exactly what I did here. So, for all my survival builders out there, I understand. But going around and placing a bunch of different shapes, not knowing if they're going to look actually that good, it's not very sustainable. So what I'd suggest is actually going down the list and looking at what professions and what kind of components of a castle you'll need. So there's like the keep. You could always have a bailey. You gotta have the mess hall. You could have a place where the throne is. It's really endless. I'll leave a bunch of resources down below where you can see what kind of parts of a castle there are. Seriously, there can be like hundreds. So that's why I wasn't really too concerned with how big this castle got. Because eventually, if I happen to do the interior, well, there's a lot we can do. And on the topic of castle buildings, I just want to mention, all those may be obvious, but you want to make sure the more important stuff is in the middle of the castle. Right, if we're trying to think realistically and defensively and kind of how to the architecture of a castle works, make sure you have like the keep right in the center of where your castle is, or maybe you want to have the feast hall more centralized. If you're going to have guards, towers, guards, barracks, that kind of thing, you can keep those on the outside. Watchtowers, those can be on the outside. It's just another thing to think about. Now next I want to talk about the layered effect in castles. You've seen it in movies and films and Disney stuff. You know what I'm talking about, why it just makes your eyes go up. But not only that, a castle being on a hill and like kind of slanted up, it's defensible. Like, it's hard for things to get up to the top where the keep would be. So just when you're building, think about how you want this thing to be laid out. You want the taller stuff in the back. It's okay to have a tall tower in the foreground, but more so if you want to make this castle look grand and epic and huge, then have taller stuff in the back and maybe even put it on a hill. That's why I much prefer building on sloped terrain. You can make a really convincing, epic effect with your castles. And one quick thing you just saw, roofs. Sometimes they can become very big and flat, and my favorite way to break up that big, flat face of a roof is just add a tower in it. Or you can add another triangle-shaped roof kind of thing in it, or you can even connect another building to it, and that's kind of what makes castles so epic. Having all these conjoining shapes, it makes it feel so full, and so, just lively. That's really what it does. So here's what our castle's looking so far. Very big, very much shape, very cool, yes. And now I want to think about triangles. Yes, triangles, you heard me right. Okay, so wherever the tallest point is in the castle, think about how a triangle would slope up to that. And does it look natural? If not, you gotta balance that out by adding another shape on the other side, sometimes adding a shape in the front, or just anything to make it feel more balanced. Balance is kind of a hard thing to explain when building castles, or really just in art in general. So just think about when going to the side of the build up to the tallest point. Is it a triangle? It can be an isosceles or a right triangle. It doesn't really matter. It's just gotta not look lopsided. And it is a little difficult to explain, but you'll know what I mean if your castle just isn't looking right. You'll know. And actually, with this build here, I would like to go taller with it, there in the center where the keep is. But build height was restricting me, so we're gonna have to stick with this. And the build does look pretty balanced in the end. And so once you have the big idea, it's time to go into the smaller, but still big aspect of the castle, kind of the ground. Yeah, the ground, you know, if you're anything like me, you definitely are a victim of floating castles. So just down below, I started to add these little wall pieces. The brown is sort of like where battlements would be, and where guards would be peering out into the distance, making sure there's no intruders. And I started combining that with the terrain, and I think that's important. You can't just have your castle just plopped right into your terrain. You gotta sort of merge it in and transition it out into the natural world. And I've been playing a lot of The Witcher 3 and also been watching the new season on Netflix. By the way, you should watch that if you like that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. Side note. Anyway, what they're really good at doing is merging things into the terrain. And I took inspiration from both those sources, and I tried to really make these walls feel like they were just carved into the rocks below. And another thing we're going to do later is make it so snow has piled onto different areas, and they've kind of swept it off their stone areas, you know, just because you don't want snow all over your ground in your castle, right? So yeah, in these brown areas, I kind of imagined that blacksmiths would be hanging out there, and merchants and stuff, and, you know, the guards could get their weapons sharpened and such, and that was kind of the idea with having these big flat spaces. And hopefully, in the next episode of this castle building series, we're going to decorate that up and really make it feel full of life and all those good things. And at this point, guys, it is the final touches to the shape of the castle. And this is what we've got so far. You can always go in and make little refining details once you start putting in the textures and all that stuff, but this is the base. This is the concept, and now we just have to decorate it, make it look cool. And just to finish off this build, I tidied up things, made some colors stand out a little more, and also thickened these walls, and then put in some lime wool to showcase where trees are going to go. But that concludes this Minecraft 1.18 castle build thingy. Part 2 coming soon. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed seeing this process for how I built this castle plan here, and do believe me, we are going to finish this at some point. Yeah, I think this is a really cool layout. We just gotta actually texture it with all the blocks. Like, look at that texture, amazing. Yeah, but we're gonna get into the lore as well. You see this thing, this is like a waterfall, and there's gonna be like a whole story I want to make to go along with it, which I think will be pretty cool. So if you're excited to see this thing get built up, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button, and hit the notification bell, you know, the YouTuber stuff. Make sure you do that. And maybe if I'm feeling extra spicy, we'll get to do the interiors too, and I can show you my tips for how I do interiors, which is something I don't really ever do. Anyway, thank you for watching to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.